morning and welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I'm John. I am the host, and yeah, we're doing a lot more now. Right, we're going to start doing a lot more on this channel. I want to thank you guys for coming here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for supporting us. And most important, we're going to need to share the Prepared Mind with other people and grow. As you guys know, I lost one of my jobs, so I'm going to make it up by doing more here, more with you guys, more broadcasts per day as soon as I get things settled in, and we're going to go with it. We've got an article here from judicialwatch.org. Go ahead and check down below. You'll see a link to the story itself. Judicial Watch has been around a long time. They're an anti-government corruption type organization. They're a watchdog type organization. They're a truth-telling organization. They're an alternative news organization. So, from May 1st, we've got an article from Corruption Chronicles, Judicial Watch, Caravan Update. Africans, Bangladeshis, Syrians, Afghans are in Mexico awaiting U.S. asylum. This is a rather shocking story, if I do say so myself, but I think there's a little more to it than what the headline would have you read. Let's start with it, shall we? This has everything to do with what's going on in our country, with what the agenda is behind the scenes. Now, there have been times in our country when we have had massive immigration, but every time it's been massive immigration of human labor, a human workforce. From China on the west coast, they helped build the railroad to the east. And on the east coast, we had Irish, Italians, Germans come over in a large wave in the 1800s. But what we have now is not a workforce. It is not a group or groups of people coming here to the United States of America, the land of opportunity. Instead, they're coming here and they are agents of destruction. Now, let me read to you a little about this and we'll discuss it. The chronic onslaught of illegal immigrants, heading to the United States isn't just coming from Central America. The caravan includes large groups of Africans, Indians, Bangladeshis, Afghans, Pakistanis, and Syrians that have made it all the way to Mexico. Now, we've been told that the people coming up from the south through Mexico are Central Americans, are Mexicans. They're disenfranchised. They're seeking asylum, right? That is, asylum is, they're fleeing persecution from another country. But what do we know about these wacko people coming from other countries? They aren't fleeing their country as much as they're coming here to destroy us. They hate America and they hate Americans. Maybe there's some good ones, I'll give them that. But it seems like when we get these people here, they don't assimilate. They don't want to naturalize. They don't want to become Americans. That is the problem. Never mind the fact that there aren't jobs here for them, right? We have an unemployment problem in this country. So, back to the story. Africa is a hotbed of Islamic terrorism, according to the State Department. That's our own government saying that Africa is a hotbed of Islamic terrorism. And Bangladesh is a South Asian Islamic country that's well known as a recruiting ground for terror groups such as the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda, Indian subcontinent, AQIS. More arrive every day from these countries, according to a mainstream Mexican newspaper report that cites the country's immigration officials. It's not just the Trump administration. It's not just wacko right-wing people. Judicial Watch is on this and going, we've got a huge problem, right? These people are coming from Africa and from other countries around the world. Some not so friendly and some insanely not so friendly. Now, the question is, for you and me, how did they get here? How did they get from the country they're in to Central and South America? Who paid for that? Who paid for that? And for what reason? Why are these people coming here? Right? If they were good immigrants, why wouldn't they go to a port of entry right, and try and immigrate through a naturalization system that's already created. Instead, they're invading Central and South America and then coming up north through Mexico to seek asylum here in the United States. If they were political refugees seeking asylum, I'm sure there are better ways to complete the process, don't you think? Mexican media reports that hundreds of illegal immigrants from Africa, India, Bangladesh, and other non-Central American nations are currently in Mexico awaiting asylum in the U.S. That doesn't make any sense. They're awaiting asylum? How can you await asylum in the U.S. when you're in another country? Unless you go to a U.S. embassy. And I'm sure if these immigrants, illegal immigrants, went to a U.S. embassy, that the U.S. embassy would be the one processing the paperwork and discovering that they aren't seeking asylum, that they're not real immigrants, that there's something quite different. Most are holed up in Tapachula, which is in the southeast Mexican state of Chiapas, bordering Guatemala. One group featured recently in a Mexican newspaper article took 9 months to reach Chiapas. They went from Angola to Brazil, where they spent 4 months before traveling to Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, then Nicaragua. Once they reached Honduras, the African illegal aliens took 3 days to purchase a photo identification and bus ticket to Guatemala, where they say it was easy passage to Mexico. Where are they getting this money? How are they purchasing anything? Why do they need to come to the United States of America? Wouldn't you think that these people would go to a country that is similar to theirs in culture, tradition, law, faith, and try and assimilate there and fit in? No, they want to come to America. They're not saying they're going to come here and produce. They're not saying they're coming here for anything other than to seek asylum. Now, as a prepper, we've got to understand this report from Judicial Watch is important. It's telling us what is going on, and they're reporting a small piece of what's going on. This isn't the full story. This is just what's going on down south. There are people trying to enter this nation through other ports, through Canada, through other nations. Okay. Boy. Another group featured in the same story came from Cameroon, home of the extremist group Boko Haram and the Islamic State, West Africa, ISWA. The illegal aliens say they flew from Cameroon to Ecuador before traveling through Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and finally Mexico. How did they fly? Did they grow wings and feathers? Did they float on a cloud like a magician? Or did someone, like George Soros and other NGO, non-government agencies or organizations, did they pay for this? And why? What is the purpose? Right? All of the Africans plan to continue into the United States, where they expect to achieve refuge, according to the news report. Of interesting note is that the Africans accuse Mexican authorities of racism and discrimination. Now, this asserting that migrants from Honduras, Guatemala, and Cuba eat first and receive better overall treatment and accommodations. What is fascinating is we have a group of people that have come here from another country, more than likely on someone else's dime, come here to North America, Mexico. And they're already spouting claims of discrimination, claims of racism, while they're leaving their people and coming to other people and putting themselves on the public dole in Mexico. What do they expect? They're sticking their hands out and making demands already. What do you think they're going to do when they make it to America? What do you think they're going to do when they make it into your neighborhood, your county, your state, your city? I know people who live down on the border from California over to Texas, and they are not happy with what's going on. They're scared to death, some of these people, of the influx of Africans, not because they're black, but because they don't share cultural vision with us. They don't share a legal vision. They don't share a political vision with us. They don't share anything with us in common except they want what we have. right? We want to keep what we have. They want to keep what we have. That's about all we have in common. It is crazy. All right. Of interesting note is that the Africans accuse Mexican authorities of racism and discrimination. Isn't that amazing? The major Mexican newspaper cited earlier refers to the situation along that country's southern border as a pressure cooker, on the verge of an unprecedented migratory collapse. Besides tens of thousands of Central Americans and Cubans, around 800 migrants from Congo, Cameroon, Guinea, Pakistan, Syria, Nepal, and Pakistan, among others, await U.S. asylum in Mexico. So tens of thousands plus, it sounds like thousands and more of these international overseas immigrants who are awaiting, they're just waiting to achieve refuge. What are they doing here? What makes them think they have earned it? What makes them think they can travel through South and Central America and through Mexico and into the United States and get asylum? What is their plan here? Why are they doing this? Who put them up to it? When you answer those questions, you'll find the agenda, you'll find the purpose. It's to destroy the United States of America. Now here's the deal. The American legal system, the American culture, the American political system, the American economic system, they are on the rocks, right? They're in ICU in the hospital, intensive care, dying in the bed. And they want us to introduce, what's the best way to put this? You know, these are human beings that are being sent here, but they're not being sent here to live. They're being sent here to be parasites, to live off of us. This is why shit is going to hit the fan. These people are going to foment nothing but problems. They're going to cause nothing but problems. You like the idea of women being raped because they decided to wear a skirt that showed their knees, or that they showed a little cleavage, or that they were just too beautiful and some foreign dipshit decided to rape them? No, that's bad, right? But that's what's coming. It's happening in Europe. It's happening around the world. Wherever these people go, that's what they bring. Their culture, their sickness, their weakness. Bad news. Okay, so let's move on. This pressure cooker exists on the southern border of Mexico. There are thousands and thousands of immigrants trying to push their way through. Let's read on, shall we? A separate Latin American news report estimates that north of 1,000 immigrants from those nations are currently in Mexico, with the goal of gaining asylum in the U.S. Mexican authorities restrict access to the shelters that activists calculate house near more than 1,000 migrants that aren't Central American. A special permit is required to interview them, according to Mexico's immigration agency. In other words, the government is keeping the media from talking to them, from getting the answers. That means there's secrets there that they don't want the people to know about. There's information that would be useful in understanding the agenda here. Now, if you think these people are going to do bad things here, imagine what they're already doing in Mexico. They are foreign to Mexico. They're foreign to Mexicans. They're foreign to Mexican culture, heritage, traditions, and customs. Mexico is having a hell of a hard time with this too. Fascinating shit, is it not? But the media outlet managed to interview several of the Africans in Tapachula. Their journey to Mexico is similar to other non-Central American migrants interviewed by other Spanish news outlets. They're not Spanish news outlets. They're Central American news outlets. They're Mexican news outlets. They're Latin American news outlets. Spanish is the language they speak. Okay. Quote, the majority plan to get to the United States despite the fact that the country's president, Donald Trump, as we know him as President Donald J. Trump, rejects them because they are considered a threat to security. Yes, they are. They're a threat to security. They aren't true immigrants. They're not really seeking asylum. Let's find out if we can figure out a little more about them. Other Mexican media reports describe the camps that house illegal aliens from across the Atlantic. Many of the African women are pregnant, and hundreds of children and adolescents are becoming impatient and appear malnourished. So the women are pregnant. That means they probably want to have their babies in the United States of America. under the concept or idea that if the child is born here, it's an American citizen, and therefore the parents get to stay, apply for welfare, get entitlements, everything for free. Thank you very much, America, while they continue to infect our nation with a foreign culture and concept of humanity. It's terrible stuff. Terrible stuff. But these people are impatient and appear malnourished, right? They came here with no food, very little money, and if they had any, it was probably given to them with the express purpose of giving them just enough to make it here. And they're malnourished, which means they're going to be what? Sick and weak, which means that if they have disease, the disease is going to be possibly rampant, possibly viral, and not in a good way, right? Viral in a bad way. Their objective, according to the article, is to cross Mexico and ask for asylum in the United States. All of them were more than 7 months pregnant. Another Spanish news story revealed that 150 African migrants recently blocked an immigration station in Chiapas to demand permits that allow them to continue their journey through North Mexico and into the United States. Now, first of all, the Mexicans can't grant them permission to get into the United States, but they can grant them permission to get through Mexico. Now, what's fascinating here is they blocked an immigration station. So these illegal immigrants, which have made it through South and then Central America into Mexico, are now in large numbers, 150 of them or more, and I'm sure this is happening in many places. This is one report about one place, right? And that it is incredible how many other places besides Chiapas have immigrants just pouring into it, demanding visas for travel, demanding to make it to America, making demands and blocking stations, that is protesting, that is forming human chains and getting in the way, that is impeding the administration of government affairs in Mexico. What do you think they're going to do when they get here? They're going to demand, they're going to cry. They're going to make life a hell here in this country while we're already on the verge of a recession. We can't support ourselves because of all the theft, graft, and just unethical behavior and thievery that's going on here already. And then we're going to allow more of these people. President Trump is right. They are a security threat on many grounds. Let us continue here. The migrants formed a human chain that impedes the entrance and exit of the buses that transfer undocumented immigrants arrested in the rest of the country for deportation. Thank you, Judicial Watch, for putting this news story up. Our mainstream media here is lying to us. Our mainstream media here is withholding facts. That is lying by omission. We had a great idea from one of the patron listeners after the live chat that what should we do? I should read and look into the mainstream reports, which we know are bullshit. Look into those and then what? Report the truth based on what it is they're hiding. See if I can glean stuff. I'm going to make that, I think, one of the additional prepared mind projects that I delve into. What are they really saying in the mainstream media? What are the lies they're telling? And by virtue of the lie, if we can call it virtue, understand what they're trying to get Americans to believe, and then dissect it and see what we as preppers should believe, what we as patriots should believe. Because we can't count on the media to tell us the truth. No, by the time they figure it out, if they ever do, it'll be far too late. Far too late. It's just incredible to me. Like I said, I know people down on the border, and it's unnerving. I don't know how they live there now, knowing that at some point here, these Africans, these Asians, these people from around the world that are fleeing crap and bringing it here, they're going to be coming across the border into these sanctuary cities and these sanctuary states. Why? Because the people that are running the show there, they want more constituents to vote for them. They want people in their area, right, to take full advantage of the rest of the country. And if they cause an emergency situation, well, then they'll just declare a state of national emergency and get federal funding to cover their dumb little asses. You know, this is just incredible to me. And it's great that they called this the Corruption Chronicles. Judicial Watch, I said, has been around a long time. They do a marvelous job. Zero Hedge is out there. A lot of times they seem alarmist, but they're ahead of the curve. They're telling you what's coming ahead. They're looking as far ahead as they can, right? Which road do you take? The center one, the left one, the right one? Well, how will you know if you can't even see what's up ahead of each of those options? That's the part about being intuitive, about looking forward through time and space to see where these clowns are taking us. And it's not to a good place. I mean, yeah, these Africans are horrifyingly dangerous because they're coming from radicalized Muslim areas and they want to come here for asylum. What do you think they're going to do when they get over the border? When they see your soft daughters and your unarmed neighbor, and they see your business with big glass storefronts and no bars over the windows, what do you think they're going to do when shit hits the fan, when there's an economic collapse or the power goes out? You think they're going to behave, sit in a circle and sing ISIS-related kumbaya songs? No. These people are not here to help. What they've done in other areas of the U.S., and especially in Europe, is form communities of people that are like-minded to them. And then they demand white people, or they demand citizens, natural-born citizens of those countries and ours. They say, get out. They are, in other words, they're invading and then annexing areas of our country and wanting to bring in Sharia law, which is foreign to what we have. We had common law, which is common sense, natural law. It's been supplanted by Roman civil law, and now it's looking like they're wanting to bring in Sharia law. Now, without looking too far into the future and saying, why would they want to import this thing, which has everything to do with creating a poor, violent culture that is also submissive to the authorities, but not submissive. It's actually destructive to the people around them. That's what they want to do, is they want to turn America into a third world country with a bunch of violent third world thugs as local warlords maintaining control for the massive corporations and the elite who will be outside the rule of law or the rule of Sharia law, right? They don't care. They don't need America more. They don't want America anymore long term. That's why they're destroying it. Why are they destroying it? Why is things getting worse? Why are politicians so damn stupid? They're being paid off to bring the system down. They're being told they're going to get constituents that will vote for them and put them in power and enrich them. And what are these politicians doing? They're selling us out. They're selling the country out for pennies on the dollar, these politicians. And it wouldn't matter if it was dimes on the dollar. They're selling you out and me out. They're putting us in a situation where not only are we facing economic turmoil and political trouble, but also social and religious persecution because of the continual importation of stupidity. It's being imported and indoctrinated through colleges. It's being imported across the border, as detailed in this Judicial Watch story. This is absolutely incredible. And it's not just me saying it. It's not just the people I know on the border saying it. It is being covered by Mexican and other Latin American news agencies to the best that they can. Because even in their countries, their governments are panicking and trying to keep the facts from the people. What does that tell us? This is an international effort on the part of non-government and probably government organizations around the world to import the world's worst trash into our nation. The answer is no. We have to say no. We have to say no. We have to keep saying no. Right? And if they overrun the border, if they take over the border cities, what's next? What's to stop them from moving further north? Do you think the requirement to have a real ID is going to stop these people? No. No. It hasn't stopped them yet. Who's going to keep funding them? Who do you think? You will ultimately be funding them once they step across the border, because our government will start handing them benefits, free money. Free money. So, just another reason why you need to have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You need a plan. You need to understand the world around you and what is coming into it even. Understand, you may be hundreds of miles from the border, and you could still be at imminent risk. Right? Once they come across the border, what's to stop them? So, as a result of this and some other things that have happened lately, I'm going to be doing more videos. I'd love to get into more, good God, it's gear time, doing more gear time prepper videos. I'm going to do that. And we're going to, what are you going to do? Prepare the mind, prepare the body, right? That's what we need to do. You need to get your thinking in shape, as well as your legs and your lungs. You need to be prepared for what's coming, not only with the mind, but also with gear. You're going to need to do the very best you can to get prepped with equipment, right? One of the major ways that I want to talk about things is night vision and tactics with night vision. That's one of the things I'm hoping to get to. You guys can help remind me of that, because these people will move at night, especially down in hot desert areas, right? It's easier to travel at night when it's cool, when they're not seen. It's getting to be dangerous. And I'm not telling anyone to take any violent actions. What I'm telling you is you need to be prepared to have violent actions taken against you. It's not fear-mongering. It's called prepping. Right? The situation that's coming is not an emergency. It's called shit hitting the fan. And the only one that's going to look out for you is you. So thank you very much for looking out for us and everyone here. Thank you to everyone who has sponsored us through Patreon, who's raised their Patreon donation because of my current situation, right? Because I've got more time on my hands. I've got some little jobs to take care of, but I'd like to spend more time right here. So your job out there is to tell other people, come to Patreon, come support this effort to get the truth out. Do your very best, and that's all we can ask. So until tomorrow, and tomorrow will be, right, the weekly wrap-up. Until then, you guys be cool, and I'll talk to you on the flip side. Semper Fi, Godspeed to all.